What's up, everyone? This is Danny, the producer, and DA is running a few minutes behind per usual. So I got my friend Brian Hoyer here, and we're just going to talk behind David's back a little bit. So I want to start off the show just asking Hoy, what is DA's biggest weakness in his football game?
Mm. Going to my scouting report here, I'm going to go short arms, not that big, sweaty ass.
Swass.
It's hard to take snaps, but he learned a little trick on that one from Tom early in his career, so he always makes sure he takes care of that. And but you know what? It's hard to find something bad to say about Da because where he may lack, he comes full strength when it comes to that heart of a lion. He's a pit bull, bulldog, Georgia bulldog. Uh, it's just one of those things. Like, why does an undrafted guy make it? Well, because of his demeanor, his attitude, his passion, and so where he may lack in physical traits. I will say this: of all the centers that I've ever taken snaps from, he's got the smallest ass I've ever seen. I don't even know how he can generate like leg power because a lot of that comes from glutes, and it's kind of like this big body, and then the ass just drops off, which actually, in a weird way, makes for a perfect spot to put your hands
Probably
to get the
helps.
snaps. Yeah, and so but literally, it's almost like a cartoon character. Like you see, like a big cartoon character, like big upper body, a small lower body. It's just the tiny little ass that you had to find the spot. But no one snapped the ball harder than David Andrews either. So look, if I'm going to give the negatives, I'm going to give the positives that have allowed him to have the career that he's had.
Well, I was hoping this would turn into a roast session for him, but it was more of a compliment. So, all right.
I don't want to. David's brutal, like how I talked about last week. Like you didn't want to get into it with Rabel. I'm not gonna roast David because I know if I fire shots, there's gonna be 13 more coming right back
Sure.
at me, and that's just being smart.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, although you guys talked a lot of shit about me when I was trying to deal with
The Double D
family
show.
health issues.
The Double D show. Hey, it's all in good fun. Yeah. Well, you played your cards right. But if you last thing, like if you're a D coordinator, right, and you're on the scouting report and you see David Andrews there, like what are the three bullets maybe?
um, One, like leader of, you're gonna write, this is the leader of the offensive line. He's gonna make all the calls. He's gonna be the one who's getting everybody lined up. Two, as David would state, you're gonna have to kill him, and then he's gonna come back and fight you again. Like you're gonna have to. It's gonna be a battle all day long. And then three, I think his athleticism is probably undervalued. David, for being a center, you have to do a lot of things, right? He talked about it. You have to, first of all, you're going to block with one less arm at the beginning of each play because you got to snap the ball. And I've seen Da have to pull on plays, get out, run around, see him, chase the play down. I think his athleticism is probably something that's overlooked, and I think that would be, if you're looking at three key bullet points when you're going into a scouting report, you're going to write, is going to get everyone to do the right thing. That's first and foremost. Number two is going to fight you like a bulldog till he can't fight you anymore, and then he's going to get back up. And then three is going to be he's athletic. He can get around to three techniques. For those who don't understand, like that's when the defensive tackle who's further away from the center, David can get out there and hook those guys, and I've seen him do it. And I think he's just one of those guys, like what you're in for when you go against him. It's going to be a long day. He's going to fight his balls off to try to do whatever is asked of him, and that's what you want in the center. That's why he's a captain for a long time, from being undrafted to a captain. He's reliable, and he's going to give his all, and he's accountable. I think that's the biggest thing.
Love it. DA is a
Yeah.
dog. Well, everyone listening, don't tell him we recorded this segment. He'll never hear it. We're gonna get to the podcast with DA in a few seconds here. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Let's have a good show.
Welcome to episode 23 of the Quick Snap podcast. We're in the playoffs. We just saw the divisional round. A lot to talk about, but we're going to bring DA in here. He's got some intriguing things he wanted to get to.
Yeah, first of all, so I was scrolling on Instagram last night, Hoy, and it's my Instagram's full with like hunting videos, trucks, a lot of food stuff though. and some weightlifting stuff and watches. I
Okay.
like watches, so
It's a good
I get
algorithm.
some watch. I get a lot of watch stuff and some boating stuff. But so this food guy last night, Hoy, was talking about Cleveland and he was like he was like doing segments about like, I'm gonna make every food from your hometown and see if it sucks or not.
Okay.
I think he called them Polish boys in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
Polish
It was like
boy.
kielbasa.
Yeah. Hot Sauce Williams. Hot Sauce Williams is like the famous
It was
place.
like kielbasa, coleslaw, French fries, and
French
barbecue
fries.
sauce. And that sounds incredible. And I got to know, is that a real
It
thing?
is
Like,
good.
I don't know who this guy is.
It is.
That's a real
It
thing.
is. Yeah,
I'm
that's
all
a
in
real
on it.
thing. And there's a famous place called Hot Sauce Williams, and they have those, and then they have it's fried chicken and stuff like that. But it is one of those things. It actually wouldn't be like the first thing that comes to my mind about Cleveland. There's some other types of food. Actually, my buddy Michael Simon, who people would know from like Food Network and all that stuff, he
We
has a
did that
barbecue
in
place there. And it's,
Las Vegas one year, right? We had some of his
yeah,
stuff.
we did. We did.
I
brought-
love
we catered
he's
it
got
in.
I'm a big Food Network guy. He's got like the show he does in like the summer where he's outside in like his garden
Yeah.
cooking. Some of the stuff he makes looks incredible. Big fan of his.
Yeah, he does that. So he started that in the pandemic. He was doing it on Instagram Live, and then that turned into their show. And so I think I've talked to him about bringing him on. Maybe we bring him on for like the Super Bowl like food episode, like what's on his menu, because he's got some great stuff. But yeah, he's kind of the big Cleveland food guy. But yes, the Polish boys in Cleveland, it's a very unique combo. Like you said, it's the kielbasi, it's the French fries, the coleslaw, and the barbecue sauce, and it's pretty good. You would like it.
Yo, what's happening over there, DA? You technical issues?
It says page is unresponsive.
What, Riverside?
Yeah.
Is it your Wi-Fi? Is the Wi-Fi connected on your phone
Yeah.
and it's working?
like my camera, does this thing have a power button?
Your computer?
The camera.
Oh, no.
No, it's all plugged in, but it won't let me select my little HD camera.
You're on Riverside. Can you flip the camera around so I can see it?
Oh, my computer just died again.
There it goes.
Oh my god.
Hoy, should we find him?
Fine. That's what Bill would do. Ask him what Bill would do.
Hey, DA, what would Bill do in this situation?
I don't know. Not allow me to do a podcast.
That's true. All right, David, while you had some technical difficulties, I looked it up. Hot Sauce Williams actually closed.
You
And
were
so-
just talking all that, and now you're just.
I just haven't been back to Cleveland enough to look it up, but I was going to try to look it up and send you the link, and it's closed. But it's something we can make. Maybe we have a little Super Bowl watch party or whatever. I'll make some Polish boys.
I'm all in on the Polish boys.
It kind of goes along the line. Remember that time you came over and I made that one dish, and it's kind of like, I don't want to call it a stew, but it had like the dumplings and it had
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like that's Cleveland food.
You ever do a Permanis in Pittsburgh?
Permanis, yep.
I've always wanted to do it when we played there. I'm just too scared that I'm just going to absolutely.
Yeah, I mean it's more hype than it is like real. It's just putting French fries on a sandwich. So.
I know, but like I like throwing some fries on a burger every now and then. You ever do that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I was a kid in high school. I was putting like chips on my sandwiches at
Oh,
lunch.
dude, chips on sandwiches.
Need some texture, man.
You get some like Lay's, throw them on a barbecue sandwich.
I always
know
like
about it.
the Cool Ranch Doritos, like on a turkey sandwich with maybe lettuce, tomato. Yeah.
All in. So that's what I really wanted to talk to you about today, Hoy. We could just make this a food podcast today if we need to. I got.
Look, we had a nice look. We celebrated our first season. We had a nice team dinner, and I think Danny was a little astonished with the amount of food that we were willing to put down. All right, we
were
placed our
ordering
order.
hats, and Danny was like, I could see him being like,
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
You just kept rolling them off. You'll go with the octopus, the enchiladas. We'll get the chicken tacos. We'll get.
That's
the
why I
fish.
love going out to eat with Lyman, because I feel at home, because that's how I always want to order. So I'm like, if I'm out to eat with those guys, I'm like, no one's going to judge. I saw a little judgment from you, but you enjoyed it.
I can eat with the best of them. I was not judging. I was happy to be there. We had some great conversation.
Yeah, learned a lot about boarding school and what happens there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny.
A lot of good fun, a lot of good prep school fun, the good old days, the glory days. All right, well, a couple more mailbag questions here we have for you guys. And we'll start with the fun topics. We'll go non-football for this show.
Okay.
This comes from Ryan Bajorn. I probably messed up his last name, but what is the best tractor brand, DA?
Oh, that's our field guy.
Is it?
That's our head field guy.
Is that Boyd's owner?
Yeah.
Boyd. Boyd doesn't get enough clout around here. I mean, what a great dog.
Yeah, so we had a problem with geese on the field, and he basically just brings his dog to work every day, and she just chases, our Boyd's a boy, but he just chases all the geese away. I mean, dude, this dog, you talk about a lifestyle for a dog. First of all, great dog. Second of all, dude, he just rides on equipment all day. And then, like, if there's geese on the field, he's just an absolute lunatic chasing them off.
Do
Like,
you remember?
That's
Do you
every
remember the
dog's
one
dream.
time that he came on the field like during practice and everyone was like, "Oh, Boyd, how's it going?" And Bill's like, "Move it along."
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm definitely a John Deere guy. I grew up. My grandfather had a Ford tractor, and then obviously when we bought our farm a few years ago, they don't even make those anymore. They were smaller. But when we bought our farm a few years ago, when I went and looked at it, they had a blue Ford tractor that I grew up riding.
Like
So,
vintage.
yeah, so I felt like that was a sign.
Did you get it?
Named Ford. Yeah, I made sure that was included when I bought the farm.
That's awesome.
But I have my father-in-law has a Kubota. They make really good tractors. More obviously we're not running huge farming operations, so we don't have like combines and all that stuff. But I really like John Deere. John Deere's got a great system going. So like all their attachments, a lot of them you have to buy John Deere attachments to fit their tractors. A lot of tractors are universal, but smart marketing by them. Like a lot of the stuff, we've had to buy certain John Deere parts for it, but can't blame them. Smarter than me, I guess. So, but yeah, I personally like John Deere, but I also have a appreciation for Kubotas. They make a great tractor. We have one of those too, and love that. So, yeah.
I'm not a big tractor guy, but I did learn something recently. Did you know that Lamborghini, that's what they started off? That's what they made?
Yeah, they have tractors. That guy, there's a show on Amazon. I think it was Top Gear used to be the show. What's his name?
I know the show. I don't know the guy.
The British, he's like a British guy. He like started a farming show on Amazon. It's actually pretty good, pretty funny, good content. But he has a Lamborghini tractor, and everyone was giving him hell for it. But they're huge. It's super nice. But
Yeah, that's literally how the company started. I'm pretty sure it was making tractors.
I'm good on the Lamborghini tractor. I spend my money on something else.
Well, shout out Ryan for the question. I've never seen you so excited to answer something. So shout out Ryan. We got one here. What is your favorite non-Patriots event that you guys have attended at Gillette Stadium? That's a good
At
question.
Gillette.
This is from A Mart 12.
At Gillette.
Yeah, at Gillette. At Gillette.
I don't know. I'd say a Kenny Chesney concert.
That's what I was gonna say.
A Kenny concert in Gillette in the summer are really. It's kind of it's a great way to wrap up the summer, really. And I don't know.
Always the last stop on the No Shoes Nations tour is Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Although I will say, the Taylor Swift era's concert was. I'm just saying, I went took my daughter, took our family, and I hear it in the car because my daughter wants to listen to it, and I would say to perform that long. I mean, my kids were still younger side, so like after they performed the one song she performed, I think one of the newer songs. They were like, "Can we go home?" Like we heard everything we wanted to hear, and she went on. I mean, it's impressive. I've always said like I've gone to see a bunch of concerts, and I think those people don't get the recognition that they should get just for the endurance that they have. So like a 4-hour concert is
a hard
crazy.
lifestyle, man. Get up, have that energy every night,
do it again the next night,
and you got to think too. Like, I mean, you know how it gets, Brian, when you're playing. Like, you're like, man, we're running this play again. We're walking through this play again.
Monotony.
I don't know how to do that. Like, that's what they're doing every night, though. Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for. I would say for me, I get 2 runners up. We went to a Luke Combs concert.
I was gonna say, didn't you chug a beer with Luke Combs? Like, how can you not put that number one?
That was a really awesome experience. He's a great dude. And then number 3, I would say that Army Navy. Did you go to that?
I didn't know.
Were you playing? Were you in Vegas or were you
Yeah, I was in
here?
Vegas.
That
That
was
had to
an
be cool.
that was an awesome experience. And obviously I think we had a Thursday night game that week, so we were off. So a lot of guys were there. Just a really cool experience too to be a part of.
Well, next group outing for the Quick Snap boys, I think we got to go to the Vegas Sphere and see Kenny. He's getting a residency out there.
Wow.
I don't
That's
know
pretty
about the
sick.
Sphere. I feel like I wouldn't pay attention to anything but just like staring up. I'm like, oh.
Kenny would be a good one to see there, though.
Yeah. It was pretty cool when he showed up for Tom's Hall of Fame thing. I mean, that whole
Yeah.
night, that's still Patriots related, but it wasn't game related. That whole night was
That was a
incredible.
cool night. That was a fun
Jay-Z
night.
opening up, Kenny was there. I mean, it was just Bill Burr, who was like kind of the MC, I guess, a little bit. Like that was pretty sweet.
And Mike Tirico. I mean, it was really well
Yeah, Mike
done.
Tirico was technically
It was really well
Peyton.
done the entire night.
Yeah.
Bill came in. It was a big deal. All right. This one comes from Owen Foley. What is the best rookie prank that you guys have seen in your time in New England?
What do you mean, rookie prank or
That,
Like rookie skit?
Yeah, like, you hear like, oh, the rookies got to get their car filled up with bubbles and shit like that. But
I wouldn't say there's that many like
Yeah.
rookie pranks. More of like skits and stuff you're having to do, or like bringing in donuts, stuff like that.
It's a new age.
I don't know.
I mean, when I was a rookie, you either had to shave your head or shave your eyebrows, and I kind of knew it was coming, so I let my hair grow out. And they basically, for me, it was great because I was just getting a haircut. But there were some guys, especially with the dreads, like they opted to shave their eyebrows off. That's not really a prank. I'm trying to like, to me, like the funnier moments were having these rookies who did like really, really good skits, and now I'm trying to think back of some that would even be
like, I don't
appropriate to
know,
talk
like,
about.
We don't like you don't
Not made for air.
the rookies really, like I don't know, like.
All right, fair enough.
I have some. Do you have any favorite rookie skits that you can think of that you could talk about without outing people?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean, I did. I guess I can talk about mine. I guess I won't give too much details, but we got the night off of training camp. Bill,
For yours?
Bill let the vets stay at their house that night because he loved it and thought it was good, and canceled meetings.
Wow.
We did like we had a great skit. We did like, so we hosted Family Feud.
Mm-hmm.
Played the game. Some guys did that, and then we had commercial breaks, and we would like film things. Obviously you're really, it's funny because you're attacking people in the organization. You're coming
Right.
after guys, whether it be Tom, the coaching staff, whatever it may be, and so it's awkward because you're like, man, I'm a rookie, but I'm having to do that. But we did these commercials, and one of them, I think Miley Cyrus this was like when she was huge. She was coming to Gillette, so we filmed like a promo about the concert, and I acted as Miley Cyrus and basically like performed Wrecking Ball. And
I need that video.
In a jock strap. From what
I need
recall,
that
right?
video.
No, it wasn't in that.
Yeah.
And it was good. Got a lot of laughs. The whole skit was good. The Family Feud was great. I think when the rookies will buy into it and just do it and try to make it good. And if you go after everyone, players, older players, the coaches, the whatever, it just makes it fun. It's a great night in training camp when you get a skit and get some laughs, and it does. It builds the team. It builds bonding. It's they're great. I think the one thing, Hoy, you remember the slip and slide?
Oh yeah, that was. I mean, that's a
fun.
good one.
That's a good one for the rookies. We'd soak, the grounds crew would be out there soaking like a mud pit, and then the rookies don't know it, and then they have to go through and recover a fumble, and then go to practice just absolutely soaking wet, shoes, everything. Rookie coaches have to do it, so that's a good one. And then you get a veteran that stands there with a big like water hose spraying them down and stuff. And if they don't recover the fumble, they got to go again. So that's always a good way to start practice.
Yeah, that
Well,
was always fun to have to go through there. I'll remember my rookie year having to do the slip and slide, and at the time, and this, Danny, we were talking about this before, waiting for David. One of my teammates and best buddies at the time, Rich Orenberger, which you never crossed paths with him, David, but you would have loved
No,
him.
but I've heard stories.
He's on. So Julian had him on his podcast, and
Is that who it was this
yeah,
week? I saw
yeah.
that.
So you'll get a kick out of that because he's got some light stories, he's got some
Yeah,
law
I heard
stories,
that.
but he was the center, and we both had to go through, and it was about a 94-degree day that they
Oh.
pulled out the slip and slide. So you slide through, you're soaking wet, and then Bill didn't give a shit if you fumbled a snap. It didn't matter that you were all wet. So the whole day, just like trying to get the snap from him. I'm soaking wet. He's soaking wet. It was one of those days like your shoes are squishing and I mean, look, it's kind of the initiation process, and that was always a great one, I thought.
Well, thank you, Owen, for the question. We got one more here. That's more football that will lead us into the Around the League segment coming up. But AFC Championship related 2019. After we clinched the AFC Championship in overtime against KC, I vividly remember David waving goodbye to a section of Chiefs fans. What is the loudest / toughest away stadium / atmosphere you guys have played in college or pro, and how do you mentally prepare for a game like that? From JB54.
I mean, I would say, Hoy, you'd probably agree that was up there.
Yeah, that was
That
I mean, that was
that was
definitely
up
one of the most hostile environments.
Yeah, I think from college, we played Clemson opening game one year. That stadium's really up on top of you. I mean, look, there's really no way to prepare. Like, you crank the music at practice, crowd noise at practice, whatever. But, it's hard to simulate 70 to 100,000 people screaming at you. And the energy and I think really you just try not to ride those waves and, you try not to, ride the highs and lows and, just be consistent. Granted, I think when you play in an AFC championship game like that, you've done it so much throughout the year. You know what I mean, Hoy? Like, so that communication's easier versus like, and
Early.
it's hard. Week one, you're not going to play in a game like that. But like, by the time you get to the AFC Championship game in a game like that, like, there's still a lot of communication, but everyone's rip raring ready to go. And, you've had all those road games to prepare. So it's a little bit easier. But yeah, I would say that Kansas City game was definitely up there.
Yeah, my NFL career, that would be probably the one. I mean, although I played some other ones, especially when I was more out on the field where trying to call the play, like you're screaming at the top of your lungs. But I'm sure for you, you would agree with this. Like the college atmosphere was always, I mean, there's more people. So I think back to like playing at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they were number one in the country, and it was a close game. And I'll never forget, we were getting the kickoff. They had just scored to like cut our lead and to go out to call the first play, and I'm screaming the play in the huddle at the top of my lungs, and the guys are looking at me like, we can't hear you. And my first start ever in college was at Penn State on senior day on a whiteout, and so like David said, you kind of get used to it, but there's really no way you could pump the music in, you could do all of those things. The best thing to do is to try to take the crowd out by playing really well. I mean, you convert a third down, they start sitting on their hands. That's what always was the goal.
Yeah. And I think though, it's more mentally, emotionally draining in those environments than a home game.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, because you're having to over communicate.
yeah,
It's like
you're
the things.
screaming, you're
Right.
yelling. There's so much like, I don't know, sensory going on that it's it's a lot, and they take a lot out of you.
Yep.
All right. Well, that does it for mailbag. Thank you guys for sending your questions. Keep firing them in. Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Keep firing them in.
All right, here we go. NFL Divisional Round around the league. Let's start off with our hero of the week. And this hero of the week is brought to you by Hero 95, a crisp, low-calorie lager, only 95 calories and 3.6 grams of carbs. Go find a hero at your local liquor store. Your friends will thank you later. Head to drinkhero95.com. Hero 95, brewed for the hero in you. And this week's hero is... I think this is a two-time winner, right? Two-time winner?
This guy's won.
Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback of the Commanders, upsetting the number 1 seed Lions in Detroit.
It was a crazy game. Yeah, Jaden
Yeah,
Daniels had 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, 50 rushing yards. There were 6 touchdowns between these two teams in the second quarter, which was electric to watch. But
You
Commanders,
knew going in they were going to have to score a lot to beat the Lions. Um, they did that, but they also, I mean, they kind of started to run away with it, right? And I think it's just we've seen it all year round, and we are, like I said, this is a 2-time winner of this award, but like the level of calmness that this guy plays with is just at that rookie level, and maybe we've talked about it before because he played so many games in college. It's just, but it's something that just that it factor, and it was fun to watch, and it's amazing to see. And we've talked about this before. It's what you can turn, how you can turn an NFL team around so quickly. It's pretty impressive. A new head coach, a rookie quarterback, and honestly, it's not a lot of big name guys. It's a team who's playing together. They signed some quality veteran guys that probably helped establish that culture. Guys who had played under Dan Quinn before, but it's been a lot of fun to watch.
yeah. I thought really the whole weekend. Look, it comes down to the little details,
Hmm.
and you look at some of these games like turnovers, right? We got the Lions, 3 ints, a fumble. Um, you had Baltimore with the
Yep.
you know fumble. Lamar threw a pick. The bad snap. Like I think that Stafford have a couple of the Rams have a couple turnovers. Danny, what?
They had a critical fumble. I remember your boy Jalen Carter, Georgia boy, knocked out from Caleb
Yeah,
yep.
Williams when they were
late.
kind of making the move that it was going to maybe possibly take a lead or cut
Yeah,
it
I mean, look,
close. Yep.
that's what it is, and it's glaring throughout the year and then in those crucial moments, right? And so, I mean, that was to me watching the games, was something I noticed and kind of bookmarked is turnovers. And, it's hard to overcome those things and you can sometimes do them. Like we talked about whatever week that was later in the year when the Commanders and the NFC matchup, they had 5 turnovers and still won. Like that's not a recipe for success. So, you looked at a lot of those teams this weekend, and it was a lot about turnovers, in my opinion.
That was the
Yeah, I
Eagles
mean,
game who they actually play next week in the NFC Championship, so it should be
Yeah,
interesting. Go
it
ahead, Hoy,
was
though.
just to correlate it back to some New England, like when you hear Vrabel say like we just want to be good enough to take advantage of bad football. It's a really good way to look at it, right? Because if you're good enough and you aren't making the mistakes and the other team is, you've already given yourself a much better chance of winning the games. And Bill would sit there and tell us all the time, right? Like nothing correlates more to winning and losing. First, he'd talk about points, which is kind of the obvious, but two would always be turnover margin. And so when you get to
yeah.
these critical games and everything is so magnified, each play is so important, if you turn the ball over and the other team doesn't, there's no way to really even that out. I know you mentioned the Commanders overcame it, but that's not something you want to deal with going through a playoff run and putting yourself in that position. It's just too hard.
No, and it'll be interesting moving forward. The Lions. You know, Ben Johnson took the job in Chicago. I saw something about Aaron Glenn this morning, possibly to the Jets. They're still ironing out some details. I don't know if anything's been confirmed yet there, but I mean, that's the one blessing and curse with winning, right? We've talked
Hmm.
about it, Hoy. Like, you win, you're successful. A lot of times, your coordinators are going to get, head coaching jobs, and uh, I mean, you can't blame them for taking those opportunities. There's not a lot of those opportunities, and pay everything else. I mean, and so it's same with players, right? Like we've talked about that. Like you win, it's hard to keep players. Free agents, maybe they decide to stay, but a lot of times teams are willing to throw big money at them, and it's hard to. That's why you don't see those runs of success like you do, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the you know Lions moving forward. Obviously, Dan Campbell's got a great foundation there, and good players. But like you have to rebuild your coaching staff, and that's hard at times. And obviously, some coaches may leave with the respected coordinators, and some may stay. So it's such a hard thing, and to just once you start having that success and guys start getting promotions, and it's you know it's a blessing because they deserve them, but at the same time, it's tough. Personally, I think I would hate getting like they got such a good thing going,
Yeah.
and now boom, there goes your offensive coordinator and your DC. That's hard, man.
Yeah, not to mention, obviously, they want to take some coaches with them, but they also want to take players with them that know their system. So now they start to maybe, hey, they take a few guys with them because they know that what they're going to get. And that's just people, I think, sometimes get caught up in, oh, they only taking people. Yeah, well, you want to take people who, one, you have a relationship with, and two, know how to implement what you want to do, whether it's a system, a culture, all of those things. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some maybe Lions offensive free agents becoming Chicago Bears. And if Aaron Glenn takes a job in New York, I'm guaranteeing there's going to be some Detroit people that follow him there as well.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just the way
it's
the
just
business goes.
it's just like you said, like you know, with the Commanders, like Bobby Wagner played with
Yep.
Cam or not Dan Campbell, golly, Dan Quinn
Yep.
in Seattle. He brought is it Davenport, the DN?
Yep.
Brought him, brought Fowler, both he had in
Hmm.
the Cowboys, took the Cowboys center. Obviously, Dan's a defensive coach, but was there for that long, knew the center, took him to the Commanders. Like, that's just what happens, and you're right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward.
And you guys talked about teams that don't turn the ball over win. Well, that didn't happen in the Texans Chiefs game. For the first time in NFL postseason history, a team that yards wise, had 100 more yards than the opponent, the Texans, and no turnovers, the Texans, and lost. That was the first time in 49 games where that happened, where the team lost. So, Texans made history on Saturday afternoon in a bad way. Chiefs 23, Texans 14. Thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is for being on the Patriots for so long and everybody didn't like us. I understand why now, because as you're sitting there, I'm just like, God, like just figure out a way to beat these guys, but they keep figuring out ways to win. And I know the controversy, like, you know, with Mahomes, should he these like there's not much you can do about that, right? Like control the controllables. And so I don't know. I mean, other than saying that the Chiefs are 7-0 and refed by Clay Martin, I mean, the league is not helping them, doing themselves any favor by assigning him to these games, and then there's these controversial calls, and so everybody's gonna. I mean, even D'Amico Ryans kind of came out after the game, was like, "Look, we knew it was us against everybody, and I mean everybody." I mean, it's one of those things that's tough to deal with because it's like you just mentioned, you have 100 more yards, no turnovers, and lose. Never done this. This is the first time in 50 games, right? So a lot of different ways to look at it. I thought the biggest thing is they've gotten to this point. Are they going to be able to score enough points to beat the Buffalo Bills? I don't know.
I mean, look, you're right. Do they have enough in the tank to keep up? But at the same time, like, dude, you can't count them out with
Yep.
Mahomes. Like the culture they have from their coaching staff, Spags on the defensive side of the ball, like they find ways to win. And yeah, people might hate it and think it's whatever, but like you can't fault that, Hoy. And like it doesn't matter, no matter what, they've just found ways to win. Whether it's blocking a field goal at the end of the game they had no business being in, you know, this is a classic stats are for losers, scoreboards for winner type game. Like, I mean, I respect what they're doing. I've been a part of those teams. It feels like sometimes, and um, it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be a great matchup. Obviously, the Bills got to go to Kansas City, but I think it's probably two of the best teams. Maybe in the AFC. Like you can't say. I think we all would have loved to seen Ravens. I mean that Ravens Bills game was a great game in my opinion. So
Yep.
uh, it's hard to argue that the Ravens are one of those teams. They just got the tougher deal in the bracket, but yeah, I mean, you can't fault Kansas City. Like they find ways to win, and that's what it's about. It's all that matters.
I forgot one thing I wanted to mention that Ravens game was the Mark Andrews. He dropped that 2-point conversion at the end of the game, which he's getting crazy hate on Instagram, Twitter. It's wild. But the thing I wanted to bring up was his girlfriend. She had to deactivate her Instagram because there was 20,000 comments on her latest post, just like ripping into her.
Gosh.
And I was just curious, have you guys like ever dealt with like your wives getting hate from like you guys having bad player, like any like attacking on social media from that standpoint?
My wife is like anti-social media, so she's would have never seen it anyways. We didn't even get a chance to talk about this game yet. What do you mean go back to this Ravens game? I know we kind of intermingled it.
Oh yeah, we intermingled it. All right, we haven't got there yet.
We'll get there, Danny. Jeez, you want to
Fair
roast
enough.
this guy too?
No, I don't. But I felt bad for Mark Andrews.
I mean,
Um,
yeah. Look.
well, let's
It's
get into it.
part
Let's
of
get into the Bills
Yeah.
Bills Ravens game. It was Bills
part of the
27,
game.
Ravens 25.
Like, there's things that happen. Like, I mean, like no one's more sick about that play than Mark Andrews. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I get it. Like, fans have their reactions and stuff, and I don't know. I mean, my wife. I think there's been like a few times someone has said something to her on social media, but like to me, you gotta let all that stuff just be like water on the duck's back. It's just got to roll off, And um, I don't know. It's tough, man. You feel for them, and um, I don't know, man. It's tough. You see it happen, and like I said, there's no one that feels worse than him. That's for sure.
Look, someone once told me, I think when I became the starter for the first time for the Browns, was like, because people are going to say good, they're going to say bad, and they basically said if you're not willing to take advice from someone, don't listen to the criticism either. So it's part of the job, but like unless you're really going to worry if it's someone who you respect and it's someone who you really are going to take the advice from, then don't take the criticism either. Like everybody's entitled to their opinion, but most people don't know what they're talking about. And I obviously, and the Ravens stood up for Andrews and said, we didn't lose this game because of him. And David would know because we've been in those locker rooms. There's times where we win games and there's plays that he and I have both made that probably could have hurt the team, but you are able to overcome them. And there's times where we've made good plays and we weren't able to win. And so it's the ultimate team sport. And it doesn't just come down to one play, one player. And I think the one thing I hate about the media is, and I'm sitting here watching Get Up right now, it's like, why do we have to find one person to pin it on? Why do we have to say it was this person's fault? Why do we always have to do those things? Because in reality, it's never going to be that way. Even if you're the kicker and you miss a game-winning kick, there was other plays leading up to that could have affected the game. So it's not the kicker's fault. It may seem that way in that moment, but it's so much like negativity, and we want to always find blame and place blame. Like I get it, people are frustrated, but the Ravens did not solely lose that game because Mark Andrews dropped that 2-point conversion. There were a lot of other plays leading up to it. I mean, look, for as good of a player as Lamar has been, that fumble really hurt them. The interception, it wasn't very costly, right? But I don't think that we should blame Lamar because they lost the game because of that either. It's a team game. People are going to have good plays, people are going to have bad plays, but in the end, it's that you lose as a team, you win as a team. I truly believe that, and maybe that's like an old school mentality, but I really do think that.
No, I mean you're 100% right, Hoy. I mean that we've talked about it. Like, yeah, sure, it's easy to pin it on one thing. That's why we do it. It's something to talk about, and it creates noise, um, and that's the only thing you can say. Oh, he missed this catch. He didn't make the throw. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. But like, look, nothing happens without each other on that field, right? And nothing. Saquon, that run in the touchdown game was great. It was blocked incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, Saquon broke, but it wasn't like he ran over 7 people, juked 4 people out, stiff armed, the whole sideline. Like, he just turned on the afterburners and went. And I'm not discrediting anything Saquon did. He's had a hell of a game, and hell of a season. But you're right. It's everybody involved. It was the receivers blocking. I think there was a clip of them like him and Hurts talking before the play. If Hurts checked into the play,
Did he say, I
like,
like what I see?
I don't know, but it
People
was
are
either
saying they said, "Watch this," is what people are
See, I
saying.
saw one said, and it kind of, and this is where like your brain plays tricks on you because it said, I like what I see.
Could have been
yeah. I
that.
mean, who knows? But like, there's so much that went into that play other than just Saquon
Yep.
running his ass off. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I think if we really just want
that's
to,
why this is the greatest game of all time.
yeah, if you really want to look at this game with the Bills and the Ravens, and I said this on Sirius Radio last week, is and David, you'll know this because we've played teams like this before. When you're playing a team like the Ravens, you don't want to let them play from ahead. Because if you let them, and this is the same with Philly, if you let them play from ahead and let them dictate the style of play they want to play, it's going to be a long day. And I was worried about the Bills after that first Ravens drive because they went down like a hot knife through butter. And I was like, oh boy, it's going to be. But then the Bills responded, and then they were able to get a few stops. Obviously, the turnover, the interception was a momentum killer, I would say, for the Ravens. The Bills didn't really capitalize off of that, but they were able to kind of hang with them, and then when they took the lead, it becomes that's just where you want to be. So as easy as that sounds, like don't let them play from ahead. It's a tough thing to do, and I would say now the one team that is going to be playing this weekend that you don't want to let them play from ahead are the Eagles, because if you let them dictate how they want to play the game and you put Hurts and Saquon back there and basically say we can run it, we can throw it, we can do whatever you want, they're going to be a tough team to defend. But if you start to take away that running game and you get ahead on them and they feel like, man, we're not going to have enough time to maybe run these zone reads, we're not going to have enough time to run these run plays, and you make it a little more one-dimensional, that makes it tougher on a team. But if you're playing the Bills, I mean, if you're playing the Ravens or the Eagles, and they have this like two-headed monster duo back there where they can basically run the ball, and you will let them run the ball, you might as well forget about it.
Yeah, and it's hard too because the Eagles, those two receivers, like
Yep.
you want to play single high all day, like that's a tough way to live too with
Yep.
AJ Brown and Smith on the outside. So I don't know. I think I'm probably most interested to see this Commanders
Mm-hmm.
Eagles game. A rivalry divisional game was such a great game a few weeks ago. Like, and just the storyline. First year Dan Quinn. First year there. Jaden Daniels, rookie there. I don't know. I think it in Philly, like that's going to be a really cool game, and obviously the Chiefs the Kansas City Bills game. You know, Seen this matchup plenty too. I think that game's going to be a little bit more of what you expect, I guess. Um,
Yeah, the other one's kind of a wild card, right?
yeah, it's just like who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Philly ran away with it. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was,
Shootout.
one of those grinding games. So, um, I'm interested to see it. I saw something. Jaden Daniels doing a lot of virtual VR type training.
Yeah, I talked to when I talked to Drake and Milton this year during like training camp and preseason, they were telling me about like the Apple headset. They had something developed for it, which I went and checked one of those things out. It's pretty cool what it could do, but what they were describing to me was, and it must take a special camera, but they're able to put that on and basically immerse themselves in a play with live video. And I don't know if that's exactly what Jaden's doing, but it just goes to show you how far technology has come. Because I actually remember that had been 2017, and when I was playing in the 49ers, they had something similar with like the Oculus, but it was like still shots. So you could put it on and you could basically go through still shots and be like, okay, that's cover two. But you couldn't go through like live plays. And it sounded like talking to those young quarterbacks here in New England, they were actually able to go in there and watch live plays from that quarterback perspective with that Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah, Jaden made that a requirement pre-draft that any team that drafted him, they had that technology for him. So Washington had to get those goggles or whatever they were for him when he got to
Also,
the stadium.
is this the first year that Washington's had new ownership?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Josh Harris.
So
It's
yeah,
like everything's new. Their coach,
Yeah.
quarterback.
yeah. I mean that's really
Huge.
cool. I think it's just a cool story, and uh, I mean, I'm interested. I think both games are going to be great. But I'm a little bit interested in the Commanders game personally.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. I think we've seen this Bills Chiefs matchup so many times, whether it's the regular season or playoffs. And I think there's a little bit of like this, like you said, unknown excitement about this Philly Washington game because first of all, no one expected Washington to be here. They got a rookie quarterback. I don't think there's ever been a rookie quarterback to start in the Super Bowl.
There's never been a rookie quarterback picked in the top 4 of the draft that's made an NFC or any championship game, NFC
Right.
or AFC.
And look, I mean, not to take away from the Peyton Brady thing, but like the Bills, Josh Allen, that's kind of like
Yeah.
Peyton Brady right now. You know what I mean? Like so. I
But
mean, you know what to expect. You know it's going to be a great game, but there's just personally more interest in that NFC game.
I agree.
as a fan, and yeah, I understand now, being a Patriots fan, why everyone hated us looking at the Chiefs, but like, I will be beyond rattled if I have to watch a Philly versus Kansas City Super Bowl.
I
That will
know.
just suck.
I don't even know if I want to watch. I'll probably
I wouldn't
watch
wanna
just because
watch
I
it.
love football and I'll feel obligated to. But I'll tell you, the if it's a Bills Commanders matchup, I think everybody in the
That'd be
country
great.
will be happy. I honestly think if you have that matchup, you may get an all-time high of viewership on the game because people are going to be happy it's not Kansas City. You're going to see the Bills who have their opportunity. I think this would be their first Super Bowl after losing, what was it, 4 in a
4 in a
row?
row.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Washington, I think they haven't even been in an NFC Championship game since like 1991 or something
Yeah,
crazy.
that year they
That
won.
was the stat
Yeah.
the other night.
So, I mean, that has to be like, if you're the NFL, that's got to be like what you're hoping for, just for viewership and people wanting to.
But
If their team's not playing, they're going to watch the game.
your girl Taylor Swift, that's like a real thing. Like
No
the
way.
Kansas
It's
City
not
Taylor
a real
Swift
thing.
There was
It's not.
125 million viewers at last year's Super Bowl, and I guarantee 30% of them are Swifties just because she was watching Travis.
Let's talk about the national championship.
Oh, you want to move on? Okay. Well, yeah, that's a wrap on Around the League. We got 3 p.m.
Well, we didn't get to make our picks.
Yeah, 3 p.m. in the Sunday window. We got Commanders, Eagles. Eagles are -6. We're not picking against the spread here, but the line is 6. But do you guys have a winner in that game? Eagles, Commanders?
Go ahead, David.
I want the Commanders. I don't know. I do think. Look, Quinn's been in these situations. He's not a first. He's a first-year head coach. He's not a first-time head coach, obviously. Um, and same with the Eagles. Like, been in these type of games before. Hurts has been in them. And they got a lot of experience with Fangio on defense. So, it's hard. I think probably Philly's the better team, but if the Commanders can manage expectations on what they're doing, not ride the wave, which I think they did a great job the other night. I think it's going to be a great game, and it's one of those. Look, the series is split 1-1, in the regular season, so we'll get the tiebreaker this weekend. But I'd like to see the Commanders get out of there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my heart and go with the Commanders as well. David, anytime you got to play a team a third time, it's a toss-up, right? Especially, like you said, this is kind of the quote-unquote tiebreaker.
The ultimate tiebreaker.
Right, you know each other so well. You've played each other twice. You know the personnel. At this point, you know the scheme. And I think I'm just going to go. I think the same as you. I think Philly's a better team. They've got more experience, as you and I have talked about, though. Experience doesn't matter. It's about execution. And I just feel like I was just hoping that Washington would go into Detroit and make it like close. And the way they played it gave me a feeling that they can beat Philly. They've already done it this year. I think they're capable of doing it, and I'm going to go with them in that NFC matchup.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, really hope so. I don't want to see Philly. All right, Bills Chiefs, 6:30 window Sunday night. The Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites in this one. In Week 11, the Bills beat KC 30-21. So this is another rematch in the playoffs. But who you got, Bills or Chiefs?
I'm gonna go. Look, I picked them at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna stick with the Bills, and like you said,
You
pray
picked
to
them
God.
against Minnesota.
I
He picked
Bills
them to get them out of
versus
the
Minnesota.
AFC. He picked
I
them
didn't
to get
I didn't
to-
pick I didn't pick a winner. I don't think. I just picked those two teams.
I don't
My
think
bad.
you did either.
You're good. But I think hopefully they save all of America from having to see Kansas City go again. And I honestly going to analyst mode, I do think that the Bills are a better team, and of all the years, if they're gonna beat them, this one makes the most sense. I really do.
I'm going with favoritism right there.
Oof.
Pulling for my guy. Would love to see him win another Super Bowl. He's got such a great career going. I think the
For
Bills are
those
better.
for those not watching on YouTube, Da is talking about his good friend Joe Tooney. He's got his
Got his
Yeah.
jersey right there.
I just it's hard to pull against him.
I
Look,
think
I
if Tooney makes it, we when they have to do like media week, we have to part of his media obligations should be to FaceTime us for that week's episode.
I'll talk about it, and that'd probably be easier than having to deal with everything. Be like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just shoot the shit for an hour, ask you
Yeah,
two questions.
exactly.
No, I mean, look, I think it's going to be hard for Kansas City to keep up with the Bills, score as many points as them. But saying that and taking Joe out of the equation, Coach Reed, Spags, I mean, it's just in Mahomes. Like, we got a guy like that, a team that finds ways to win no matter what. They don't give up. I mean, I just think they've got a great culture and they find ways to win, and there's something to be said for it. So I'll go with the Chiefs Commanders.
That'll be a great game. That'll be a really good game. Give me Bills, give me Commanders. That'll be a better Super Bowl. But all right, that's a wrap on NFL football. Let's talk quickly, wrap up this episode with some college football. It's Tuesday morning recording this. The national championship was last night. It was a good one. It was all right. I mean, the score wasn't as close as the game. It was 34-23. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. But Ohio State was up a couple touchdowns throughout this entire game. But did you guys watch? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing people are trying to, you paid $20 million for, look, do business as business is being done. That's what I tweeted out. Like, RG3 was like, the moral of the story is pay $20 million for your roster. Well, the moral of the story is do business as business is being done. And if you're Ohio State and you can afford $20 million roster, look, there's a bunch of teams that have $20 million rosters. So they just happen to be the one that won the national championship and did it. Like, this is the world we live in. Why complain about it? It's just the facts of the matter. And it was pretty evident. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, he should be able to, this is like a rare occurrence where a kid could go to the NFL right now. I mean,
Best player in the country.
he's unbelievable. And I remember seeing like, and I'm not a big college football guy, but watching early in the year, like, this is a freshman to watch. And I was like, all right, he's a freshman. And then the more like I've watched pay attention more in the playoffs, you watch him play. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of Ohio State fans. I even saw something this morning about great, we won a national championship. Ryan Day has to be our coach again. It's like, dude, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a little crazy.
I'm not from Ohio State or Michigan, and I didn't play in the Big Ten. But at the end of the day, you just won a natty.
Yep.
I understand you didn't beat Michigan. Get over yourself. Get over it. It's a national championship. Do you think the Giants, when they went 10-6 and beat us in the Super Bowl, do you think they were like, man, we went 10-6. I know we won the Super Bowl. Like, no one cares. No one
Yeah.
cares at the end of the day. Like, it's like, I don't know. That drives me insane. I do like Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
I was kind of pulling for him, especially since they beat Georgia. But I don't know. I'm just like, you guys got to get over yourself a little bit. Like,
Yeah, we talked. Mark
That'd be like
Andrews.
Georgia fans being mad if Kirby Smart couldn't beat Alabama but won him a national championship.
Yeah,
Like, think
like,
about how stupid that is.
I get it. Like, yeah, it's frustrating. You wanted to beat them, and I respect the rivalry. That's what makes college football so great. But like, I don't know. It's like, okay. Also, these kids, it's not like it used to be. Which even when we were going to school, Hoy, I mean, sure, you definitely had guys on from Ohio that went to Ohio State and loved it, grew up fans.
Yep.
But like, you also had the kid from South Florida that just wanted to go to Ohio State because he thought it was the best place to get
Mm-hmm.
into, the NFL, or
Yeah.
had his best official visit there. Like, no matter what, and now that's even more prevalent with the NIL.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to move on from. I mean, how many of those kids from Ohio State or from Notre Dame might transfer in the portal or whatever because they get a better opportunity or more money somewhere?
Yeah,
It's
so
not.
I don't know. Congrats to Ohio State. It was good for them. But
What about your overall just view? How do you feel like the playoff played out? Do you think it's the right move, or I know we talked about kind of the subpar games in the first round, but I feel
yeah,
like after
I don't
that it
know.
was worth it.
Yeah.
I have two thoughts. Didn't like some of that. I think I think it's just hard, man. There's just not enough parity. I think you still get like 5 teams, and those are your teams. And
Like one
uh,
team gets a bye.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like in general, like I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
The
like
bye week thing was idiotic. That
I thought the playoffs and the championships were too far removed from the end of the season.
I agree
it
with
did.
that.
It was long, really. It
There
was
wasn't a
really
Like
big
long.
hype around last night's game. Like it
no,
felt
like
kind of
it
like an
was like
expedition game.
yeah. To me, it was almost like second thought last night. It was like,
Agreed.
oh, there's a natty tonight.
Well, they
Like
did it on inauguration day. It was a lot going. Like to me, I'm like, if I was them, why don't you move it to Tuesday? If anything,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt there was too long in between. Call it the end of the season ends. The first week of December is the conference championships. They didn't play until New Year's. It was long, man.
yeah, I
And
get it. Look, you don't want to share time with the NFL, and a lot of if you want to do it, like do it on Friday nights.
Hmm.
yeah, like no more high school football. Like
Right, do it Friday nights, and maybe you're right. Eliminate that first week.
it
Get
just,
rid of.
I don't know. That was kind of my two things. Think it was cool seeing a team like Notre Dame and Ohio State. Like it wasn't what was Ohio State in the playoffs?
It was that Ohio State was I think 8 and Notre Dame was 7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's cool, and anybody can beat anybody. But I don't know, just I didn't like some of the matchups early on and thought it was too long of a process.
Yeah. I was happy for Ryan Day. I mean, going from death threats after losing to Michigan and definitely losing his job to a national championship. So
Yeah,
that
just
was
get
cool.
over yourself, people.
Last thing I'll end with here. Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator to the Patriots,
New
maybe?
Hampshire guy. He used to
Yeah,
spend some time down here.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He lives in New England year round, up in New Hampshire. I think.
No, I'm saying we would see him at practice.
Oh, yeah. I bet Vrabel, Ohio State guy, could be a good fit.
Yeah,
It's an
who
interesting
knows?
way to
We'll
look at
see.
it.
Could be a good fit. All right.
We'll see how long. I mean, they're doing a lot of interviews, so we'll see. What the process leads to, and I'm sure at some point in the next few weeks they'll announce it, and we'll be able to talk about it.
All right, fellas. Well, that's a wrap on episode 23. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. We love you guys. Any last words from you guys?
I'm still thinking about Polish boys.
We'll get a either this weekend or Super Bowl. We'll have a little party. We'll make them I'm gonna work on getting Michael Simon on here and talk about the ultimate Super Bowl party spread.
I like that.
All right.
All right. That's a wrap. See you guys.
See ya.